Chapter. My name's Chris. I work in the implementation team in Linn Systems, so I usually help with things like training and documentation. And we've also got Adam from Two Legs Bad. He's the developer of our new application, or I should say his new application for analyzing eBay listings. And we've also got Prasanth here from eBay. How you doing, Prasanth?
Hello all. I'm very well, thank you, Chris. I'm Prashant Subramanian. I actually manage and head up merchant solutions for Europe, predominantly focusing on partner management and onboarding sellers and providing technical integration support.
Excellent. So hopefully there's we've got a lot of expertise here ready to help out these guys that are currently in the watching the webinar. So the main focus of this webinar is, as I said, your eBay listings. And in this webinar, we're going to be taking a look at one of the applications that we've got in Linnworks.net and how you can use that application to analyze your eBay listings and to find any recommendations that either ourselves or eBay have to help hopefully boost the sales of those eBay listings. Okay, so I've got a demo account in front of us here, and we can get going with looking at these listings, looking at what we can do to hopefully increase our sales and make our listings a little bit more buyer friendly. Okay, if you do have any questions, please drop them in the question box and we'll try and answer them throughout, and we'll have a quick Q&A at the end. We may not be able to get everyone's questions answered, but hopefully we can get the majority of them answered. Okay, so let's start off in Linnworks then. So what we need to do is we first have to install our application. So this is, as I said, an application developed by Adam, who's with us, and we're going to be just looking at how to install that and how to use that application. Okay, so where do we go first, Adam?
Okay, so you need to be on a super admin account to see this. So if you go into settings and then application store, that won't appear if you're not on a super admin account. So your main Linnworks account will be fine for this. Okay. And then there's a search at the top, but the one we're looking for is the eBay pricing app.
Okay, so this one here, so we've got quite a lot of apps already in the store. It's filling up pretty fast. So if we click this eBay one, what have we got? We've got install button now. And let's accept those terms and conditions. Why not? Okay, that tells us what we need to do to get it installed and what permissions the app needs. Okay, we've got some plans here. Do you want to quickly run through those?
So we're offering a free plan which gives you a number of kind of free listing examinations, currently at sort of 75 until about Christmas. And then after that you'll be able to do sort of 20 listings examinations a day and 20 stats, which is the other side of the app, which we'll talk about briefly later. But if you obviously want to be doing more than that, then there's the Pro and Pro Plus plans that go up kind of incrementally. The information's on our documentation. So I would suggest always go for the free app, see if it's for you, and then if you think you're going to need it more than the limitations of the free app, then feel free to subscribe.
Awesome. So I'll click the free one then, and we'll click install. Okay, that's saying it has installed. So where do we go now?
Okay, so apps can basically go anywhere in Linnworks, and this is an embedded application. So if you go into dashboards and then eBay pricing stats, that's where this particular app has gone.
Okay, awesome. So what we need to do then, I need to find myself some items that I've got listed on eBay, and I'll need to have a look to see if I can get any suggestions on how to increase the sales of those listings, hopefully make them visible. If you've got any tips there for us, Prasanth, feel free to jump in, but I'll start just by looking at our inventory. And I've got a view already set up for phone cases, so I've got 6 phone cases here that I want to essentially just make the listings better for these 6 listings. Okay, so what should I just take the SKU or the title?
You can take either. The SKU will work, and that's it. Just copy it in.
So I'll just highlight that SKU.
Now this is being listed on eBay too, which is the bottom one of those accounts.
So I can change which account I'm looking at there.
Yeah, and then you can just put it in the search bar at the top.
Okay, so if I do a search, I can find my item. Now, what exactly will we be examining on this listing?
So there are a number of categories that you can examine. If you just click in the settings button, so this has settings for all of the app, and you can get email alerts and that kind of thing. But we've developed these categories where it says examiner settings, with the help of eBay to look at where listings could sometimes improve, particularly by things in item specifics using the correct item specific or product identifiers and that kind of thing. So we've got a few categories selected here. Obviously, select as many or as few as you like.
Right, so we're going for item specifics, the item title.
Okay, we've just seen you getting a blank screen.
Should be showing it fine. Can everyone see the screen?
We'll just wait to hear back from that.
We'll give it a couple of minutes and then we'll try again.
Okay,
good. If you can see the screen fine.
Thank you, Kevin.
Good. We're getting some yeses through. Okay.
So we know the question system's working.
We get it.
Okay, so if you have got...
Right, everyone's seeing the screen. Good. Okay, so we're going through item specifics, item title, pictures, and the returns policy. Okay, so that's what we're looking into there.
So when you're happy with the settings, if you just click Save at the bottom.
Okay. So let's go and examine this listing.
Yep. So it'll go away and it'll look at your eBay listing, and it pulls the data directly from eBay, and it will come back with some recommendations. So if you click View Recommendations.
Pretty quick.
So if it's mapped to a Linnworks SKU, it'll give you the Linnworks details at the top, and then these are all the recommendations that we've come back with based on your current listing.
Okay, so looking at one here, say item specifics, we've got an item specific called compatible model, and we've got the value of iPhone 6, so this phone case matches an iPhone 6. But we've got here a recommendation saying that it should actually be for iPhone 6. Is that correct, Prasanth? Is that a good way to go for what would happen if we went and changed that?
Well, I think this is a good example. Let me give some more context on this while you are applying these recommendations there. So the product is iPhone 6 case. So what eBay expects is, or eBay search expects is, more relevant information about the product. So having iPhone 6 as an item specific might trigger the results for people searching for iPhone 6, but this is actually for iPhone 6. So what happens when you have this as part of your item specifics and this for iPhone 6 into the compatibility mode, this also comes up in your indexing and your filtering in your left tab now. So people who are searching for iPhone 6 and then filtering it out for this particular item specifics, your listing might not be visible for a larger segment of buyers. So this change will actually make this product more relevant to keywords and make it more optimized for buyers.
Right, okay. So if we just left it as iPhone 6, that may be okay for things like keyword search. But for the filters on the left-hand side of eBay, when a buyer is maybe browsing eBay, they will use the filters for iPhone 6 rather than iPhone 6.
That's right. That's one of the main elements for buyer perspective. But from a seller search perspective, you are telling eBay clearly that this is for iPhone 6 and this is not actually the iPhone 6.
Right.
So that makes it relevant. So you're providing.
Okay, so we've got some other ones here. We've got things like there's only one picture and there's a possibility of 12 in for this specific listing. We've got some ideas on returns policy, but how about we go and we'll fix this one first. So we'll fix the item specific. That seems like a quite easy change. So what I'll do, I'll jump back into my inventory and we'll click on that SKU and we'll have a look at our extended properties. And as you can see, we've got compatible model here is iPhone 6. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come into here and I'm going to change that to for iPhone 6 so it matches what the app recommended, and I'll hit save. And then because we've listed it through Linnworks.net, we can right click on our eBay column and then we can click revise selected and we'll update our extended properties. So what that's going to do now is that's going to go through and update those extended properties, which means when we go and examine that listing after that's gone through, so let's just edit that eBay listing there to see if it's, yeah, that's updating that eBay listing now. So once that listing has been updated, we'll be able to see the changes that have been made, and we can also then go back into the eBay pricing stats And if we click force re-examine, will that just go back and find the results again?
Yeah, so what it does is it drags the new data from eBay rather than using sort of cache data. And again, since you've kind of changed it to a recommended value, that particular recommendation will disappear.
Right. Okay. So this whole section will probably go after we've run that that update through Linnworks, so that we can see the changes, and we see that that's no longer recommended because it's been fixed.
Well, that's the hope anyway.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll close this for now then, rather than waiting for that to update, and we'll have a look at. See, doing it one by one is good when you've got specific listings that you want to maybe target to increase their sales. But a lot of our users will probably want to do this in bulk. For example, I've got 6 cases here, and we probably want to analyze all of them. They're all similar listings, so they may all have similar problems with them. So let's have a look at doing this in bulk. So let's go back into our eBay pricing stats. What should we do now to look at it in bulk?
So if you go to the listing examiner, the button at the top, there's a multiple listings button there. So at the moment it's got the search at the top, that's why it's only displaying that one. So if we get rid of that and just click search again.
Okay.
So this will go and pick up all of your eBay listings, and you can add them either a page at a time or singularly or all at once.
Awesome.
Now, because we're just looking at these 6 products, we've actually watched them in the app. So if you click watching, and then the plus by select, that'll just add all of them to the selected.
So that's added all of my 6. So these 6 items in my inventory here are now in my pricing stats app.
Obviously, if you wanted to add more to this, you can just untick watching or search for some more SKUs and add them individually. But when you're happy with the kind of report you've built, if you click examine listings,
okay,
and it will just come up saying you're about to analyze these, and then run analysis. So what this does is it's scheduled in the background, and it will just run in the background, and it will, if you configure the option, it will send you an email when the report is done.
Okay, how do I do that?
To get the email, in settings,
okay,
and then email when report is completed.
Right. Okay, so it will just email my email address there to say when my report's been done.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and then once that report's done, where can I find it inside the app?
If you click listing examiner and then view reports, it will appear in there, and they're in date order, so that it's backwards, so it's year, month, day, and then time. So if you run multiple a day, you can pick it out by the time you ran it. It may not seem like a very sensible way around to do it, but because there's no way of saying these are the 4,000 SKUs you decided to examine in one time, it's just the easiest way to do it, I'm afraid.
Okay, that's fair enough. Right, so we're waiting for that now. We do actually have some questions coming in. If you do have questions midway through, we're going to have some time where we're waiting on the examiner or Linnworks to do some things. So if you do have some questions, ask them straight away, and then we can maybe get into them while we're doing the demo. We do have one at the moment. Did we want to have a look at that one?
Yeah, so Vicky asked, the example is a simple product. Does the app work in the same way for a configurable product? Yeah, we'll get onto that in a second. So configurable product, it depends what you mean by configurable product. You mean like a variation listing?
Yeah, probably variations.
It will work for variations. Effectively, we can take the same data, and we will always go and look for the values that eBay recommends for your particular category you're listing in. But if you did mean something other than variation listing, then do let us know, and we'll try and expand a bit more.
Okay, well, we've got another one here from Kevin Gray. Can we explain the watching feature again? Now, that's probably a byproduct for the fact that this is actually, it's sort of like 2 apps in one. So we've got this side of the app that shows the recommendations. We've also got the pricing one as well.
Yeah, so if you click Return to Stats, this takes you back to effectively the home page. So the watching feature is part of the stats side of the app. What the watch will do, the stats side basically looks at how well your listings are doing compared to your competitors, and it will try and search on things like EAN or other product identifiers. You'll see here we've got stats and it says no matches. That's because the products we're selling here are kind of their homemade effectively, and we can't find a similar EAN. So we can actually say switch to keywords there and put in, iPhone 6 giraffe case, and then reload that. And it will go and find other products on eBay that are similar to giraffe iPhone 6 case. The watching is just another feature where it will then send you an email if you happen to move up or down the rankings, or there are significant changes. So you can see here we've got a lot of different cases all with giraffes on, and if we scroll down somewhere, hopefully our case should be in there. Obviously, if you're using keywords, you are a little bit prone to, you won't get exact matches, so EANs are the way to go if you have got products with EANs or UPCs or similar.
Okay. Someone's asked if this webinar is going to be recorded. It is, so you'll be able to access it afterwards if you do need to be anywhere else. You can leave us and then watch the video back later. We've got another question. How long does it take for Linnworks.net to talk to eBay to make changes? So earlier on I did make a change to this one here, and if I just refresh my inventory, it's still making that change, but it shouldn't really take too long. It's mostly a couple of minutes for a single listing. So we can come back to that later to see what's been changed there. In terms of the pricing stats, I said we've just gone and looked at our report for...
It is finished, yeah.
For those 6 listings, and the report itself is finished, so we can jump in here and have a look at what recommendations we have for those 6 listings.
Lauren can't see the screen. I think, Lauren, there's 1 or 2 people that are having an issue. I think the best thing is, as Chris said, there will be a video of this after the fact that we'll have available. But I don't really know a fix for that, I'm afraid.
Okay, so let's get back to these stats then. So we've got a number of recommendations in each. Is that a lever?
Yeah, so lever is one of the ways that these sort of recommended categories were described to us. And so we've tried to move away from the word lever and call them sort of recommendation categories or something like that. But there's always one place where you'll pick out that I've forgotten to change it.
Okay.
But that is a recommendation category.
Right, cool. So shall we check some of these then to see what it's recommending?
The top section is, because you've done a bulk listing, as someone said in the questions, would it cope with a couple of thousand listings? You can, I think the maximum you can do at one time depends on your plan, but it would be up to 1,000 a day, I believe. So that's sort of the maximum we want to put in one report. But then you'd be able to run another 1,000 the following day and the following day. So the affected listings, if you click show affected listings, it will show you all listings that have come back with a recommendation for that category. And obviously there's not much detail in there, it's just kind of the highlights. Okay. So the real bulk of it is in the bottom of the screen with the report details. And here you can either list it by the recommendation type. So say you want to have a blitz on item specifics, you can just get the item specifics there. Or if you want to sort out a listing at a time, the order details by can be changed and just change it down to listing ID.
Okay, so we can then check per listing
what the recommendations for each listing. For a listing, yeah.
Okay, so let's just go back to recommendation type then, have a look at our item specifics. So let's have a look. Most of these, what have we got? Okay, we were actually missing some item specifics. So we've got some recommended for compatible brand, type, color, design, finish, features, and material. So Prasanth, would adding these to my listing also increase the visibility?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So these are indexing parameters, so it will increase the visibility. Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay, so we need to start maybe adding some more of those in. We've got some other things as well. So under item specifics, that's looking at those. We've got item titles, pictures, returns policy. It's saying that for these listings, the returns policy is only 14 days. And consider raising it to 30. So all good recommendations there. If we go back to these item specifics, I've got obviously compatible brand, type, color, design, finish, features, and material. Is there any way of me knowing what material should, what values for material there are, or what types, for example, that I can add to these listings?
So there's another kind of small tool that we've built into the app, which if you click on that link there will take you to that page. And this will look at the category that the listing has come from and give you all the applicable values for all of the recommended values for the item specifics that can be applied to the listing.
Right, okay, so because I'm listing these phone cases in that eBay category, not only does eBay recommend all of these item specifics, but they have values for these specifics as well. So, for example, material, acrylic, canvas, carbon fiber are all recommended materials for that ID.
So you can actually get to this screen from the main app. Under Listings Examiner, there's an item-specific tool, lookup tool. So that will bring you to this screen as well. You'll just need to put in the category ID and the site.
Okay, cool. So what I need to do then is in bulk, I need to go make these changes to my listings. The best way to do that will be with a CSV file. And luckily here's one that I've prepared earlier. So I've got all 6 of my iPhone cases there, just the SKUs. And then I've added material and type, and I've added a value from each. So those values I got from the tool there. So they're clip cases and they're made of acrylic plastic. So we need to get that into Linnworks. So the best way to do that, rather than manually one by one per listing, would be to do that in bulk. So I need to import that file. So let's go to Settings and Import Data. And I'm just going to add a new import and click Import Now. And let's just have a name for this import. So I'm going to add some extended properties, and this is going to be an inventory import. I'm going to choose my file, the one I just showed you there. And both material and type I'm going to map to item extended properties. Now what Linnworks is going to do is it's going to guess that you want that extended property to be called material and type, because that's what we've called it in the file. And they're going to be a type attribute. So for 9 times out of 10 you're only going to be using attribute anyway, so we don't have to worry about that. So that's ready to go. I can click Run now. And what that'll do, that'll run an import. It's just awaiting first run at the moment, and that will import all of those extended properties.
We've got a couple of questions. Vicky's got how many products can you add to the app under the free option? The app will pick up all of the eBay listings that Linnworks knows about. In terms of how many you can either get stats for or examine, it would normally be 20 stats and 20 examines. But what we've done is we've increased the examines to 75. And that's per day. So up until sort of just after Christmas, it's going to be 20 stats per day, 75 examines per day.
Right, so it'll be good to get on this pretty soon then, to make the most out of the extra allocation while we can.
And Stuart's got actually a very good question. For the brand item specific, is it worth letting eBay know of your own private label brand?
Right, so this might be a good one for you, Prasanth. If we go back to our results here for the examine.
It would be an item specific.
Under item specifics, we've got that the brand is a value of Nitty Nitty. I haven't heard of that brand personally myself. So is there anything you could enlighten us on this, Prasanth?
Oh, definitely. So again, this point coming back to the relevancy of your product data. So you have established yourself as a brand and you call it Nitty Nitty, or you're selling an unbranded item. It is always good to have brand item specifics. Actually, brand is one of the required identifiers for eBay. So it is a mandatory parameter. So if you mention it as unbranded or you mention it as your own brand name, it's good for eBay to know.
Right, so even if it's not a brand that eBay recognize, it's still good to put the brand on there regardless?
Correct.
Right, okay.
So one of the updates we've got coming soon, which obviously for people that sell their own brands are obviously going to get this recommendation a lot. We're going to have acknowledgements in there. So you can just say, okay, I know that I'm going to have brand, I acknowledge this, don't show me this recommendation again for this report.
Right, okay, so that basically means that if we know that our brand is always going to come up with a recommendation, we can just say, don't recommend me that anymore, stop annoying me with that recommendation, because I know that it's not applicable to my listings. All right, cool. So what we'll do now then, let's have a look back at the import data. We have imported that. So we'll jump back into our inventory. Let's have a look at some of these. And we now have an extended property for type and for material. So what we need to do now is we need to add these to the actual configurator, what we've used to list this with. So let's go to Settings and eBay Configurators. And this is the configurator that I've used to list these items. And what I need to do, I'll need to go into Specifications, and I'll need to add type and material are already added, but if I didn't need to add them, I press the Add New there. And all I've got to do is map those to the type and material extended properties that I've just imported. Now, just to get those to show, I'm just going to do a quick refresh. So let's go back into our configurator and type. I'm going to pick type there, and material, you guessed it, I'll pick material. Now once that's saved, if I went and updated this listing now, it will update all of the listings in this configurator. But let's just see if there was anything else I could have updated at this time, because we'd rather do everything in bulk if we can. So let's just go into the pricing stats app again. We'll go back into our report that we've just made. And let's have a look. We've got returns policy here. So all of these listings were recommended that we're currently showing a 14-day returns policy, but we should be having, maybe consider raising it to 30 days. So let's go back into our configurator, go back to the returns, and we can actually set our returns policy from 14 days up to 30. So once we've saved that, then we can go and revise this whole configurator. So that will be just clicking on this cog up here, and we'll go Revise Selected. And then we can just tick Revise Everything, or just revise some certain parts. I'm going to click Revise Everything. And when we click Revise, that's just going to go through, revise all of those listings. And then when we re-examine all those listings again, they're not going to have the recommendation for returns period or the recommendation for these item specifics, because we've just added them.
Kevin's just come up with a very good kind of point rather than a question. He says he spoke to eBay about adding our own brand to their filters. They said it's down to relevance. So if enough people are searching for a particular brand, it will appear in the filters.
Right, is that right, Prasanthis? If a seller's particular brand isn't noticed by eBay as being a legitimate brand, it will eventually become one if more and more buyers search for it?
Absolutely. So I think Kevin was kind enough to answer some of the questions posted previously regarding brand. So that's spot on. So you provide your brand, and buyers eventually searching for that particular brand, it will start to appear, and more hits we get, we will add it to our recommended brand list as well.
Right, okay,
perfect,
awesome.
thank you.
So that's essentially the demonstration done there. So we've demonstrated how you can run this tool to get recommendations on both single listings and listings in bulk. Hopefully we've answered a couple of your questions. We're going to wait for some more to come in, and then we can do a quick Q&A. Apart from that, is there anything else you wanted to show us, Adam, with regards to the application at all? Anything we might have missed?
No, I think we've got the bulk of it. I mean, we briefly went through the stats side of things. We're still developing this, so if you do have things that you think would be good to know about your listings, potentially if you drop that in the support window at the top, that sends us an email, and we can look at future updates, getting that put in depending on how feasible it is.
Okay, awesome. Prasanth, is there anything else you wanted to say while we were waiting for questions to come in? Maybe some advice on
Sure. I
revisions?
would also recommend, Chris, do you want to talk a little bit more about written policy and other recommendations which are showing up? I know item specifics are quite key. There are other value drivers as well, like writtens and pictures.
Okay, so pictures here, we've got these recommendations that the listing currently has one picture out of a possible 12. In your experience, does it show that the more pictures you have, the better the listing will sell? Is that just a given?
Yeah, definitely. So more pictures you have brings more relevancy in of the product, as also increases the conversion. From an eBay perspective, we have seen more conversion happening for listings which has more pictures. So yeah. That's
okay, It's similar to what you've just been talking about. We've got just another question in from Paul saying, does it show anything to optimize the title? So in fact it does. We've got some title recommendations on the screen here. Did you want to go through these? What have we got here?
So there's a few different kind of things that we look at on a per category basis. One that's kind of quite relevant is using things like brand names in your title. For instance, this title I think is iPhone 6 giraffe case, for instance. Putting your brand in the title might help that through, and that's one of the recommendations we would make. Same for item specifics. If there's obviously this will vary between category to category, but if there's a relevant item specific that you think should be included in the title, those are the kind of recommendations we make.
Okay.
Stuart's just come up with one of the recommendations might be optimizing for mobile. We do have that. That's under the descriptions.
Right. Okay. So up here in settings.
Yeah. If we if we just go to the stats, if you click descriptions there, and then save, and just go return to stats, and we'll just do a quick one. If you go into the account and just take that's it, and then examine one of these other listings and view recommendations. So you can see, in fact, the top one it's come up with descriptions is that we've got some active content in there. So kind of using script tags and JavaScript is not quite as good, particularly if you're on a mobile experience, which I'm led to believe that a lot of eBay buyers are now at least starting to look primarily through their mobile device before they come through to make a sale. And as you said, mobile-friendly content, there's a little link there to how to make your descriptions more mobile-friendly.
Okay, awesome. Have you noticed that as well, Prasanth, with regards to mobile-friendly and mobile-friendly descriptions, whether there are a lot of buyers, end up using mobiles more and more often?
Exactly. So I think that's very important for all our sellers to understand, because 80% of our conversions are happening through mobile, and keeping a mobile-friendly description makes it more easier for sellers or for buyers. Basically, just keep the experience in mind. If the buyer is going to do a lot of operations on the mobile, then you are actually delaying the opportunity or the potential of him converting. So if it keeps it simple and fitting onto the mobile, he's just going to make a decision quite quickly. So having a clear text, remove all the active contents, don't put more flashy content onto your description. Keep it up to the point and more relevant information in your description. That really helps in buyers making decisions quickly.
Awesome. Yeah, good to hear. Any more questions that we want to look through?
Yeah, Mo's got a question here about some kind of search that can grab all other similar listings. That's actually what the stats side of the app does. If we can just click on one of those stats markers there. So what this does is it's comparing similar listings from competitors. And again, if you're searching by keywords, then it might not be perfectly matched to what you're selling, but we will, by preference, take your product identifier, so EAN, UPC, GTIN, that kind of thing. And then in terms of adjusting your listing, it's kind of a long-term goal that we'd like to be able to keep this in one package and then push those updates through Linnworks, but it really does depend on the feasibility of that. I mean, potentially there's scope to find out what you want to change it to and then change it in the My Inventory screen. But the stats side of things is where you would compare your listings to other people.
And this is also where we can click watch?
Yes, that is also where the watch is. The advice on mobile-friendly viewport is quite tricky. Yes, it is one of those things that's quite a big change for a lot of sellers, because there's a lot of descriptions that we've seen of had active content and other bits and bobs to make them more of a rich experience. So the link that we've got is back to eBay's own guidelines on mobile-friendly viewports. So it is a bit of a change, but obviously if more and more people are buying through mobile, it might be worth the effort to get that that template changed and then push that through Linnworks.
Okay, cool. Let's just have a look, see if any more questions come in.
There is one question on do more pictures equal to more visibility through eBay, or is it just given that they do sell better? Dave's asked that question. Actually, it's both. So the search will look for listings which are more relevant, and if it has more pictures, then it knows that buyer would expect more pictures to see. So it helps in more visibility as well as conversion.
Okay, cool. We've got Camilla asking, so what about what would happen with your variation listings on the app? So where you add type to your specifications and where type is also in your variation, and it often brings up an error. We'd probably have to look at that on a more specific basis. Maybe if you could log a ticket, we can get in touch with, say, Adam, and have a look through what sort of errors you might be getting there.
I think she might mean when she's listing variations,
right?
With
okay.
the specifics and then the variation type. But again, if you can, drop a ticket into support, either with the app side if you're experiencing problems with the app, or obviously Linnworks if it's a listing issue. And I'm sure either myself or one of the Linnworks team will get back to you.
Good to know. Okay, so Samantha, have you got any more questions there, or anything else you wanted to say before we end?
Sure. Just one more point on, because we were talking about the EAN numbers and the product identifiers.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to touch upon that topic because sellers are looking for more comparative study and try to understand their strategy, how they should position their product with respect to pricing or with respect to any other comparison. So the product identifiers plays a very important role in that. That's part of our structured data initiative. So if any sellers don't have product identifiers like EAN or NPN or GTIN, I would recommend them to buy one or create their own identifiers so that these type of tools like Linnworks or even eBay would understand and compare it against other similar products and give you more insights for you to position your price, or you position it in the right category, or even you position it with shipping related activities. So there will be more insights given back to you if you identify your products and identify the type of the products you're selling on eBay.
Okay, thanks for that, Prasanth. We've got a couple more here. One about you have one account listed on 8 different eBay platforms. So what the app will do is it goes by the listing ID, and so if one product is listed on multiple marketplaces, it will be separate listings, won't it, Chris?
It should have a separate listing ID, yeah.
Yeah. So the app should pick that listing ID up, and we also take the Linnworks data for what site that listing is listed to. So you get relevant item-specific keywords and things like that, because obviously they're going to be slightly different on a different platform. We've got one from Dave saying about running the fix, and then do we see an improvement in rank sent through email? So if you do hit the watch button in the stats side of things, that does send you an email when you get to a certain position in the grid that you're just seeing here. So if you do go up or down the rankings compared to your competitors. There's also the run for all button, which if you're on a subscription plan, will run the stats for all of your eBay listings. That for the moment is just on the stats side. We are going to look at doing it for the examine side in the nearish future. Another one from O about the SEO for suggesting keywords. It does suggest keywords if it hasn't got an EAN or another recognised product identifier on the item. So you can see here that we've got quite a few entries that have no matches. That's because it's found an EAN and it's tried to look based on that EAN. If there was no product identifier on there, it would suggest some keywords itself. So Stuart said EAN for private label products are of no use to sell it. Yeah, you're quite right. So that comes back to what Mo was saying. If you don't have a product identifier on there, it will suggest keywords for you.
Okay, good to hear. Okay. I'm having trouble with multi-variation listings that keep telling me there is no EAN MPN. What's the best way to correct this? Well, if it's a variation listing and you do have an EAN for each one, you obviously add them into the inventory themselves. So that will just be in the barcode field. So you can go and actually manually just add an EAN to each variation child that you've got inside Linnworks. So I think it's based off of maybe the category or something on eBay's side to suggest whether each variation child needs to have a separate EAN or not. So if you do have EANs for each variation child, then uploading them into Linnworks either manually or via data import is probably the best way to go.
I think the questions are starting to dry up now, unless anyone's got some last minute questions.
If not, Prasanth, if you've got anything else you wanted to maybe add before we leave.
I think I've covered most of the stuff. I would like to answer Stuart's question, Stuart regarding EAN info for private label products are of no use to the sellers, and it's just a requirement from eBay. Just to explain on that, because nobody would search using EAN number if it's a private label. But we should think about how EAN actually works, because it actually positions you in the internet. It's not just for eBay. So someone searching for your product, the EAN numbers are actually mapped to that particular product, and that's how Google or eBay or any other search engines will be able to identify it. So that's the SEO concept. So if you are a private label, procure your EAN numbers from GS1 or maybe any other standard number providers. They will map that product to that particular number. So that makes it more visible in the internet.
Awesome. That's definitely good advice. We'll leave it a couple of minutes to see if any other questions pop in. If not, thanks for watching. I hope it's been beneficial. As I said, any more. So going back to the info just on the app itself, it's currently available. It's available now. There's a free version. In that free version, you get up to 75 examines every 24 hours.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So thank you very much for joining us, Prasanth.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think there's any more questions coming in. So yeah, have a good day, everyone. If there's any questions that we didn't actually get to, then I'll keep a log of the questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them maybe in a ticket or something like that further down the line. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you, Prasanth.
Bye, Chris. Bye, Adam.
Bye, Prasanth.